Hey, welcome to Bayou Time. I'm your host, Taylor McGee. We have a guest today, Trooper Ross Brennan. Talk about the holiday season, but not necessarily in a positive way, but one we definitely need to talk about a recent crash in Lafourche Parish. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, so I mean, look, unfortunately, we're so close to the Christmas holidays that we're having to report on this. But back on December 15th, a little bit before 7 a.m., Troop C, we started responding to a two-vehicle fatality crash on the Leeville Bridge, a little bit north of Fouchon, about 5 miles north of Port Fouchon. When troopers arrived out there, unfortunately, 27-year-old Johnny Garza Jr. cut off. He succumbed to his injuries while at the crash scene. So the preliminary investigation from our troopers shown that Mr. Garza was traveling north on LA1, the Leeville Bridge, in a Ford Fusion. At the same time, there was a southbound Chevy Silverado. And for reasons that we're still trying to investigate and determine, Ms. Garza crossed the center line and struck that Chevy Silverado head on. Immediately after that crash, both the vehicles became engulfed in flames. And as I said, Mr. Garza unfortunately succumbed to his injuries while at the crash scene. Now, the driver of the Chevy Silverado, he had moderate injuries and he was transported to a nearby hospital for treatment. As far as seatbelt usage, we are still determining what the restraint use were by both drivers. Unfortunately, with that damage on the vehicle, it's a little hard to tell right now. And then, of course, we're waiting on toxicology results. Also, they're both pending for both drivers to see if impairment may have been a factor or not. As this crash is still under investigation, like I said, unfortunately, right before the holidays, we're having to report on a situation like this.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the worst news. I always think about it now that I'm a parent and have kids. Like, all I do is worry about my kids during the holidays about whether they're being safe, whether they're wearing their seatbelts, whether they're doing the right things. And so this is the kind of news you don't want to happen because you got a lot of people out on the roads, a lot of people drinking, a lot of people maybe leaving parties late, even if they're not drinking, driving at night. It's kind of a bad recipe for accidents like this and talk about ruining holidays forever.
Yeah.
So what can we do as citizens to avoid this sort of circumstance from happening?
Yeah. And like I said, this could be until we find out toxicology, it could be an impaired driving. It could have been a distracted driving situation. So I think as we drive on the road, when you're behind the wheel, the most important thing is to focus on driving. So whether that distraction is a cell phone inside the vehicle, or maybe even the kids in the car or playing around with the GPS, or whatever it is inside the vehicle that's taking your eyes off the road, that's technically considered a distraction. It could be dangerous. So whenever you're behind the wheel, focus on the road. But this also could be a situation of a drowsy drive and somebody falling asleep behind the wheel. So definitely look, if you're getting on the roadway, make sure that you have enough rest the night before. I understand sometimes, situations, especially you got like a baby or something like that, keeping you up at night, whatever it might be, right? But try best you can, be well rested before you get on the roadway, especially those long drives during the Christmas season, maybe to go visit family and friends. Make sure you're well rested. If you do find yourself getting tired, maybe pull over every hour, walk around, stretch a little bit, get that blood flowing. There's always coffee or energy drinks to kind of keep you up. Maybe you can switch with another driver who's inside the vehicle with you, kind of take turns in that type of way. But just try to make those smart choices on the roadway, whether it's, avoiding impaired driving, avoiding distracted driving, avoiding drowsy driving. I mean, that could be just as dangerous as somebody's driving impaired. Also, look, make sure your seatbelts are being worn too. I mean, that's one of your greatest defenses to preventing serious or fatality injuries in a crash. You might have a situation where it might just be maybe a few cuts and scrapes versus something more serious by not wearing that seatbelt. So just kind of make those smart choices.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, I'm not perfect like anybody else. I've succumbed to temptation. Somebody sends you a text message or drive and you want to check it, but it really is right now, and all the time too, just too scary to when you see people driving these days and you see them all over the road and you pass them up in a car and you see they're on their phone while they almost ran you off the road. We all need to make sure we do our best to kind of, hey, I can text that person when I get to the location I'm going to, or I can respond later. But we live in a distracted society. And we also, I mean, I want to make sure everybody knows that our thoughts and prayers are with the Garza family right now. I know this is a tragic holiday season. Is there anything else as far as the other driver? He's okay. Do we know what his outcome is so far?
Yeah, he had moderate injuries, so I'm not sure at this moment what his status is, if they improved from there, but expected to survive from this collision. Now, as far as crashes so far this year in the Troop C area, we've investigated 28 fatality crashes resulting in 31 deaths. And look, anytime you have somebody pass away on the roadways, that's just tragic. One is too many. But comparing it to last year, this time we had 45 fatal crashes, resulting in 49 deaths. So, like I said, one's too many, but we are on trend to be a little bit lower than we were last year. And so, just hopefully with this holiday season coming up, people make those right choices on the road, especially with these holiday parties coming up. It can be easy to make a bad choice. Just make those smart choices, and hopefully we can kind of stop these numbers what they are now, and hopefully not increase them as we come up into the new year.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you say, 45 deaths. Like, man, that's in this one little area of the world, totally preventable, and yet we've kind of made ourselves accustomed to it. I mean, it's really sad, but you stop like think about like, we can stop this. This is something we can prevent. So we think about that all the time. It's not something you can condition to, but it is good work for y'all to keep working on getting these numbers lower. I'm sure y'all are out there in the community trying to make awareness as much as y'all possibly can.
Especially with impaired drivers. I mean, we got troopers out there, especially this season, looking for impaired drivers. You have the other local agencies like Sheriff's Office and police departments. They're doing drive sober, get pulled over for the holidays. So there's definitely going to be enforcement out there to try to prevent some of these crashes. But again, we're asking for the public to help us out too by making those right choices and preventing these from occurring by not getting behind the wheel impaired.
Absolutely. The holiday season is a time for all of us to enjoy one another, get together with people that we don't normally see all year long, family, friends, but we don't need to turn it into a tragedy.
Exactly.
And once it happens, you'll remember it for the rest of your life. It'll ruin the holidays for you, probably forever. So we need to make sure we do as better as we can. Thank you for coming on the show and talking about it. Again, our thoughts and prayers with regards to family. But we'll be right back soon with more Bayou Time.